The day I found out my ex left me with his tax debt, I wasn't thinking about money at all. I was thinking about toothpaste and school drop-off and whether my son's science project was going to survive the drive without collapsing in the back seat. I had just stepped outside, one hand on the doorframe, one hand balancing a travel mug, when I saw it. A plain white envelope tucked into my mailbox like it had been waiting for me. No logo, no bright warning colors, just my name in clean black type. A government return address. Internal Revenue Service. For a second, my stomach tightened. Not because I thought I'd done something wrong, but because when the IRS sends you mail, it never means you're getting a compliment. I slid my finger under the flap right there on the porch, and the first line hit me before my brain could prepare my body. Notice of intent to levy. I blinked. I read it again, slower. Intent to levy, as in take my wages, take my bank account, take whatever they could reach because they believed I owed them. The number printed in the center of the page made the world tilt. $94,000. I stood on my porch in leggings and an old sweatshirt, holding a letter that treated me like a criminal, while my son called from inside, "Mom, we're late." I swallowed hard and forced my voice steady. 2 minutes, I said. My hands were shaking so badly my coffee sloshed onto the paper, leaving a brown smear across the words like the letter was bleeding into my life. At the bottom, the year was listed, tax year, 2022. The year I was still married to Adam. The year he smiled for Christmas photos and told me everything was handled. The year we filed married filing jointly because he said it was smart and because I trusted him. That was the legal and financial anchor, and it landed within the first minute of my day, like a trap door opening under my feet. The IRS believed I owed nearly $100,000. Not Adam, me. Because the return had our names on it. And the government doesn't care who promised what over dinner. They care what you signed and what they can collect. I got my son to school with a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. I kissed his forehead at the curb, told him I loved him, watched him walk into the building like everything was normal. And then I sat in my car and stared at that letter until my vision blurred. My ex-husband's name was Adam Cross. He was the kind of man who never raised his voice, because he didn't have to. He used calm as a weapon. He used confidence as proof. And for most of our marriage, he handled the big stuff, taxes, insurance, retirement contributions, anything that came with forms and deadlines. He said I was too anxious for it. He said it with a smile, like it was affectionate, like he was protecting me. But the truth was simpler. He didn't want me looking. I drove straight from the school parking lot to my apartment and spread the IRS letter out on my kitchen table like it was evidence at a crime scene. I read every line. The IRS intended to levy unless I paid or arranged an installment agreement. There was a phone number and a deadline. And there was a line that made my throat close. We previously mailed you notices regarding this balance due. Previously mailed, I hadn't seen them. But Adam used to sort the mail. He used to say, "I'll take care of it," while sliding envelopes into his briefcase. I grabbed my phone and called the IRS number. A recorded voice told me my expected wait time, 47 minutes. I sat there, staring at the letter, listening to hold music that sounded like it was designed to drain hope. When a representative finally answered, her voice was polite, practiced, neutral. "Thank you for calling the IRS. she said. "How may I help you?" "My name is Lauren Cross," I said, and my voice shook. "I received a notice of intent to levy. I don't understand. I don't have tax debt." There was keyboard tapping. Then she said, "I see a balance due for tax year 2022 on a joint return filed under your Social Security number." Joint return. The words landed like a weight. "I'm divorced," I said quickly. "My ex-husband, he handled the taxes. I didn't even know there was an issue." "I understand," she said, but her tone didn't change. "A joint return is joint and several liability. That means both taxpayers are responsible for the full amount." My stomach lurched. "So you can take my paycheck," I whispered. "If there's no resolution," she said, "a levy may be issued." I swallowed hard. "Why is the amount so high?" I asked. "What is it for?" She clicked again. "The tax was assessed after an audit adjustment," she said. "Unreported income and disallowed deductions." Unreported income. Adam was a consultant. That word meant whatever he needed it to mean. He had clients, he had invoices, he had a home office, he had a way of making everything sound legitimate, because he spoke with certainty. "What income?" I asked. "I can mail you the audit report," she said, "or you can request a transcript online." "Mail it," I said, voice tight. "And I need to know if there's an installment agreement." There was a pause. Then, "There is an installment agreement request on file," she said. My skin went cold. "On file?" I repeated. "I didn't request anything." "It was submitted last month," she said. "Last month." I was already divorced last month. I hadn't spoken to Adam in weeks, except about our son's visitation schedule. "Whose name is it under?" I asked, already knowing the answer would hurt. "It lists both taxpayers," she said, "and it includes an electronic signature." My mouth went dry. An electronic signature. A submission. In my name. After the divorce. My fingers tightened around the phone. "Can you tell me the bank account listed for the payments?" I asked. She clicked. "It's an account ending in 6621. I didn't recognize it. It wasn't mine. It wasn't the joint account we used to share. It was something else. Something Adam controlled. I felt dizzy. He wasn't just leaving me with the debt. He was still using my name, still moving pieces, still playing the system. Like I was a tool he could keep borrowing. I hung up, hands shaking, and stared at my wall until the room stopped spinning. Then I did the only thing that made sense. I called Adam. He didn't answer. I called again, voicemail. I left a message with a voice so calm, it scared me. "Adam," I said, "I received an IRS levy notice for our 2022 return. $94,000. Call me back, now." He didn't call back. Not that day. Not the next. The escalation began like that. Quietly, in unanswered calls and unopened mail, and the sickening realization that the person you married can vanish the moment the consequences show up. 2 days later, my bank app sent an alert. Balance low. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. A payment I didn't authorize had come out, labeled U.S. Treasury. $200. Then another $200 the next day. Then another. My breath caught. Those were installment payments from my account. But I hadn't authorized the IRS to pull from my account. I hadn't even given them my routing number. I checked my email, frantic, and found a confirmation message buried in spam. "Your direct pay enrollment has been confirmed." Direct pay. In my name. My hands went numb. Adam had set up automatic payments to the IRS using my bank account information. likely pulled from old statements, to make it look like we were resolving the debt, while draining me quietly and buying himself time. It wasn't generosity. It was strategy. I called my bank, voice shaking. I need to stop unauthorized ACH withdrawals, I said. Someone set up the payments to the Treasury. The representative asked security questions, then said, we can block future withdrawals and open a fraud claim. Do it, I said. She did. Then she said, ma'am, if these payments were authorized using your online credentials, it may be harder to dispute. Online credentials. Adam had known my passwords once. He had insisted we share everything. Now I understood why. I changed every password that night. Email, banking, credit bureau logins, everything. I froze my credit too, because if he could sign me onto an IRS payment plan, he could open loans, credit cards, anything. Then I called a tax attorney. His name was Victor Lang. He was calm in a way that made my panic feel smaller. He listened to my story and asked one question that felt like someone turning on a bright light. Did you sign the 2022 return? He asked. I hesitated. I had, but not the way he meant. Adam filed electronically. He would send me a PDF, pages of numbers, and I would sign the e-file authorization form because he said it was standard. I never looked at the schedules. I never checked the income breakdown. I trusted him. I swallowed. I signed the e-file form, I said. I didn't review everything. Victor's voice stayed steady. Okay, he said. We have 2 tracks. One is immediate damage control, stopping levies and liens. The other is relief, getting you separated from his fraud if we can prove you didn't know and didn't benefit. Relief, I whispered. Innocent spouse relief, he said. Form 8857. It's designed for situations where one spouse underreported income, overstated deductions, or committed fraud, and the other spouse didn't know and shouldn't be held responsible. My throat tightened. Do I qualify? Victor didn't promise. He never did. He said, we build the strongest case possible, he said. And we move fast. Fast became my life. Victor had me request IRS transcripts. Account transcript, wage and income transcript, return transcript. He explained it like building a map. We need to know what the IRS claims was unreported, he said. We need to see what documents were issued, 1099s, K1s, W2s, and we need to see what deductions were disallowed. When the transcripts arrived, my hands shook as I scrolled. There were 1,099s, multiple, under Adam's Social Security number, from companies I'd never heard of. One was for $210,000, $210,000, unreported. That alone could explain the tax, plus penalties, plus interest. My stomach churned. Adam had been making money, a lot of money, while telling me we had to watch spending, while he rolled his eyes at my requests for a weekend getaway, while he insisted we couldn't afford a new dishwasher. He was hiding income and using my modest teacher salary as the stable cover story. Victor pointed at the transcript lines. These are payers, he said. We can subpoena records later if necessary. But for innocent spouse relief, we focus on what you knew, what you had reason to know, and whether it would be unfair to hold you liable. Unfair. It felt laughable that fairness was something I now had to argue for, like a privilege. Victor filed a request for collection hold, while the innocent spouse claim was considered. That can stop levy action, he said. Not always, but it helps. Then, like the IRS was determined to test my limits, Another letter arrived. Notice of federal tax line. I stared at the words until my vision blurred. A lien meant the government had a legal claim against my property, which was now my small apartment, yes, but also my future, my ability to borrow, my credit, my sense of being a normal citizen. I called Victor, voice breaking. They filed a lien, I whispered. Victor exhaled slowly. Okay, he said. We expected this risk. We respond. We request lien withdrawal based on pending relief, but we need to get your claim filed immediately. I filed the innocent spouse relief request within a week. Victor helped me write my statement, not just a form, but a narrative, a timeline. He told me, the IRS reads stories, he said, but they believe documents. So I gathered everything. Our divorce decree, the property settlement, bank statements showing Adam's deposits and withdrawals, emails where Adam insisted he handled taxes and told me not to worry, text messages where he dismissed my questions about finances, receipts showing my spending was normal, not lavish, proof that I didn't benefit from hidden income because I never saw it. I wrote, in clear sentences, how Adam controlled the finances, how he insisted on filing jointly, how he didn't share business details, how I trusted him because we were married, how I would never have agreed to underreport income or claim fake deductions. I didn't write it like a victim begging. I wrote it like a witness, because that's what I was now, a witness to my own marriage. The next escalation came from family court. Adam filed a motion to reduce child support. Of course he did. He claimed his income was unstable, that the tax issues had hurt his business, that he needed relief. Relief. I almost laughed at the word. He had hidden income, then pretended poverty. Now he wanted to use the IRS mess he created as a reason to pay less for our son. Victor and my family attorney, Camille Hart, coordinated like a team. Camille said, if he underreported income to the IRS and he's underreporting income to family court, we can request financial discovery, she said. We can subpoena his bank records. We can show his pattern. Pattern. That word became my oxygen, because patterns don't care about charm. They care about repetition. Adam still didn't return my calls, but he started sending texts, short ones, cold ones. Stop panicking. You're making this worse. Let me handle it. Handle it. The phrase that used to mean safety now felt like a trap door. I responded once. Do not contact me about taxes. My attorney will communicate. He replied within seconds. You're really doing this? After everything I did for you, the audacity made my hands shake. But I didn't argue. I saved it. Because evidence isn't about winning an argument. It's about winning reality. Weeks passed in a haze of documents, phone calls, and the constant background fear that my paycheck would be garnished. One morning at school, I checked my bank balance and felt my stomach drop again. The IRS had tried to draft another payment, even after the bank block. It failed, but the attempt left a chilling message. Payment attempt returned. It meant they were still pulling, still trying, and if they found another route, they'd take it. Victor filed a power of attorney form with the IRS so he could speak on my behalf and request a hold more forcefully. He told me, the goal is to stop collections, he said, but we also need to expose what Adam did. Expose. That's where the story shifted. Because I thought the tax debt was the problem. Then I started to understand the tax debt was just the symptom. The real disease was Adam's ability to create a false reality and let me live inside it until the bill arrived. The audit report came in the mail. I opened it on my kitchen table, hands trembling. The IRS disallowed deductions for a consulting business, Adam claimed. Office expenses that didn't exist. Vehicle deductions that didn't match mileage logs. Meals and entertainment that were personal. They also found unreported income, including payments from a marketing firm that had issued a 1099 and bank deposits that didn't match reported revenue. The report used words like negligence and substantial understatement. Then, one phrase, buried near the end, made my blood run cold. Indicators of willful intent. Willful intent. The IRS wasn't just saying Adam made a mistake. They were saying he did it on purpose. And I had signed a joint return, linking me to his purpose like a chain. Victor read the report and said, "This strengthens your innocent spouse case," he said, "but it also creates risk. If the IRS believes there was fraud, they may scrutinize you more closely." I swallowed. "I didn't know," I said, like repeating it could make it true enough to protect me. Victor nodded. "Then we prove it," he said, "and we prove you didn't benefit." Benefit. That became the most painful word, because the IRS looks at lifestyle. If you lived well, they assume you knew. If you didn't, they assume you were controlled. I didn't live well. Adam made sure of that. He kept me in a perpetual state of almost enough, almost stable, always one unexpected expense away from anxiety. Now I realized it wasn't because he was responsible. It was because he wanted me dependent and blind. Camille's discovery requests in family court forced Adam to produce bank statements. When they arrived, my hand shook as I scrolled through deposits. There it was. Money. Large deposits. $18,000, $22,500, $30,000. Then, within a day, transfers out to an account labeled Cross Holdings, to a payment processor, to something called Raven Ridge Capital. I didn't know what any of it meant, but I knew this. The money never touched our household account. He never used it to pay down the mortgage. He never used it to build a college fund. He used it elsewhere. Camille frowned. "He's moving money through entities," she said. "This is bigger than just taxes." Bigger. I felt my stomach twist. Then Camille said, "We should check something." She opened the county property records and searched Adam's name, and the screen loaded a result that made my breath catch. A condo, purchased 8 months before our divorce finalized. Owner, Adam Cross. Address, a building downtown with concierge service. The kind of place I used to walk past and think, must be nice. He bought it while telling me we couldn't afford a dishwasher. He bought it while filing a joint tax return that hid income. And the purchase date, the timing, made the puzzle click. Adam's hidden income wasn't just hidden. It was laundered into assets he planned to keep after he left me. And then, like the universe wasn't done with its cruelty, Victor called me with a new detail from the IRS transcripts. "Lauren," he said, "there's something else." My stomach tightened. "What?" "The IRS account shows an amended return filed for 2022, he said. I froze. "Amended? When?" "After your divorce," he said, 2 months after the decree. My skin went cold. "Why would he amend it after the divorce?" I whispered. Victor's voice was careful. "Because amended returns can change liability," he said. "And sometimes people try to shift it. Shift it." The word landed like a knife. Victor requested the amended return copy. When it arrived, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Adam had filed an amended return, claiming additional deductions and reporting lower income, like he was trying to reduce the tax due. But that wasn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part was the signature. It listed both names again, with an electronic signature authorization. My authorization. After the divorce. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't even known it existed. My throat closed. He forged it, I whispered. Victor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes," softly, and that changes the game. Because that was no longer marital tax negligence. That was identity theft, and filing a false tax document using my name. That was criminal. And it also explained the installment agreement. If Adam was filing amended returns and submitting payment plans in our names, he was trying to keep the IRS focused on the joint liability, on me, while he maneuvered his own exit. I sat at my kitchen table with my hands shaking and realized this was the twist. Not just that Adam left me with tax debt, but that after the divorce, he continued using my identity to manipulate the IRS record, trying to trap me deeper. Around that point, the 70% turn in the story, my fear shifted into something colder. Strategy. Victor filed a second report with the IRS, identity theft affidavit, to challenge the amended return and payment plan filings. Camille filed in family court for contempt, alleging Adam violated the divorce decree's financial disclosure provisions and engaged in fraud that harmed me. We also prepared a packet for the State Attorney General and for the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit referral channel. Because filing false returns is not just messy, it's serious. Adam didn't like that. He showed up at my apartment one evening unannounced, standing outside like he still belonged in my life. I didn't let him in. I spoke through the chain lock, my heart pounding. "What do you want?" I asked. He smiled, a calm smile, like he was there to fix a misunderstanding. "Lauren," he said softly, "we're getting calls. Lawyers, IRS. It's too much. Too much for you," I said. His smile tightened. "Don't do this," he said. "We can handle it privately. I'll pay what I can. I'll set it right." "You set it right by forging my signature on an amended return?" I asked, voice quiet. His eyes flickered. For a second. The mask slipped. Then he regained it. "I didn't forge anything," he said smoothly. "You're confused. You probably signed something and forgot." I stared at him, the audacity almost making me laugh. "You want to know what's different now?" I said. He tilted his head. "I'm not living inside your fog," I said. "Everything is documented." His jaw clenched. "You're making yourself the enemy," he said. "No," I replied. "You did." He leaned closer, voice low. "If the IRS comes after you," he murmured, "they'll ruin you. They'll garnish you. You'll lose everything. You want that?" The threat wasn't new. It was just clearer. He wasn't warning me. He was hoping I'd panic and stop. I met his eyes and said, "Then maybe you shouldn't have built your exit on my name." For a heartbeat, his face tightened with something like fear. Then he turned and walked away. Calm again, like he could still control the ending. He couldn't, because at the same time, the system was starting to see him. The IRS placed a temporary hold on collection against me while they reviewed the innocent spouse claim and identity theft affidavit. It wasn't full protection yet, but it was oxygen. Victor explained, "Once the claim is pending, collections can be suspended," he said. "Not always, but often." The key is to keep the file moving and respond to every request fast. I responded like my life depended on it, because it did. Then Camille's family court discovery unearthed something that made Adam's story collapse further. A series of transfers from cross holdings to a crypto exchange, large ones, and then withdrawals, cash equivalents, the kind of movement that doesn't leave tidy paper trails unless you know where to look. Camille said he may have hidden assets, she said, and if he hid assets, he lied to the divorce court. Lied to the divorce court. That was leverage, because judges don't like being lied to. Camille filed a motion to reopen certain financial aspects of the divorce settlement due to fraud and non-disclosure. Adam responded with anger. He sent texts at midnight. "You're ruining our son's life. You're bitter. You're obsessed." I didn't respond. I saved them. Because bitterness doesn't file amended returns, and obsession doesn't create P.O. boxes and hidden condos. What Adam did required planning, and planning leaves patterns. Victor also requested wage and income transcripts for Adam, which showed more 1099s than the original audit addressed, more unreported income. It suggested the $94,286 wasn't the final number. It could increase. Victor warned me. The IRS could assess more, he said. But your relief claim focuses on your lack of knowledge. The bigger his fraud, the stronger your equity argument. But also, the more the IRS will want to collect from someone. Someone. Meaning, me, if they could. That fear lived in me like a quiet hum. Then one morning, I received a notice from my employer, payroll department. It said they had received a wage garnishment inquiry. Not yet an active garnishment, but a notice. My hands shook so badly I had to sit down in the staff bathroom, breathing through my mouth to keep from crying. Because when the government reaches your workplace, shame becomes public. I called Victor. He said, "We stop it, firmly. We call collections, we confirm the hold, and we provide proof the claim is pending." He did. By afternoon, the payroll inquiry was withdrawn. Not resolved, but paused. I went home that night and stared at my son's sleeping face and felt something settle in my chest. I wasn't going to let Adam's lies become my child's inheritance. If this had to get ugly, it would. But it would be ugly in court, not in my kitchen. The next major hearing was in family court. Adam appeared with an expensive attorney and a calm smile, as always. He told the judge I was weaponizing taxes because I was resentful. He claimed he had always intended to resolve the IRS issues and that I was overreacting. Camille stood and presented evidence like placing stones on a scale. The IRS levy notice, the lien, the transcripts showing unreported income, the amended return filed after divorce, the identity theft affidavit, the condo purchase, the hidden transfers. The judge's expression changed, slowly, like he was waking up. "Mr. Cross," the judge said, "did you file an amended joint return after the divorce without Ms. Cross's consent?" Adam's smile faltered. "Your Honor, we were still resolving matters," he said smoothly. "It was administrative." "Administrative," the judge repeated, unimpressed. Camille's voice stayed calm. "Your Honor," she said, "if he had consent, why is there an identity theft affidavit? Why does he control the bank account used for the IRS payments? Why was the IRS correspondence diverted? Why did he fail to disclose substantial income and assets during divorce proceedings?" Adam's jaw tightened. The judge ordered Adam to produce additional financial records and ordered him not to file any tax documents in Lauren's name going forward. under penalty of contempt. It was a piece of paper, but it felt like a wall being built. Then the IRS innocent spouse process moved slowly, like everything with the IRS does. They requested more information. They asked if I knew about Adam's consulting income. They asked about our lifestyle. They asked about household finances. Victor helped me answer each one. I explained with documents that Adam controlled the accounts, that my paycheck went into our joint account, but his consulting income didn't, that he told me taxes were handled, that I never saw the 1099s, that he diverted mail, that he used my e-file authorization under false pretenses. I included proof of our modest spending, school lunches, groceries, rent, medical copays, not luxury, not excess. Nothing that would suggest I knew we had an extra $210,000 floating around. The IRS asked if I benefited from the underreported income. Victor said, "We show that you didn't," he told me. "And if you did in some minor way, we show it would still be inequitable to hold you liable given his deception." I didn't feel like I benefited. I felt like I survived. Then, the power reversal started, not all at once, but in sharp, undeniable pieces. First, the IRS confirmed in writing that collection against me would remain suspended pending determination. Second, the bank fraud team closed the unauthorized Treasury payment setup and returned the small amounts Adam had drained. Third, the IRS acknowledged the amended return was under identity theft review. That mattered, because if the amended return was removed, the record would show he acted without my consent after divorce, which strengthened everything. Adam's response was predictable. He tried to charm his way back into control. He called me, not angry, soft. "Lauren," he said, "I don't want this to hurt you." I almost laughed. He continued, "I can pay the IRS. I can set up something. Just stop with the lawyers. It's draining us." Us. The word felt like a joke. "There is no us," I said quietly. "There's you. And there's the mess you left on my doorstep." His voice tightened. "You're going to force me into bankruptcy," he said, like he was trying to make me feel guilty. "You already tried to force me into a levy," I replied. "We're past guilt." He went silent, then said coldly, "You think you're going to win?" I said, "I think you're going to be exposed." He hung up. A week later, Victor received a call from an IRS examiner assigned to my relief claim. The examiner asked for a meeting. With me present, Victor said, "This is good," he told me. "It means your file is being taken seriously." The meeting was over the phone, but it felt like a courtroom. The examiner asked questions calmly, but every question had weight. "Did you review the return before signing?" she asked. I swallowed. "No," I admitted. "I trusted my husband. He controlled the filing. He told me it was handled." "Did you question deductions?" she asked. "I didn't see the schedules," I said. He provided the signature page and told me it was standard. "Were you aware of his consulting income amounts?" she asked. "No," I said. He told me the business was inconsistent. I didn't see 1099S. "How were bills paid?" she asked. "My paycheck went into a joint account," I said. He paid bills from it. His consulting income went to accounts I didn't control. Victor added gently, "We have bank statements showing significant deposits into accounts not accessible to Lauren, and a pattern of transfers consistent with concealment." The examiner paused. "And the amended return?" she asked. "I didn't file it," I said. "I didn't authorize it. I filed an identity theft affidavit." She asked for proof. Victor sent it. The call ended without a promise, but the examiner's tone had shifted. Less skeptical, more focused, as if she was beginning to see Adam not as the other spouse, but as the actor. Then came the moment that changed everything. Camille's subpoena of Adam's condo closing documents revealed something nobody expected. A file note from the title company. It included an email from Adam, written before the divorce, describing how he was keeping income off the books for tax efficiency. Tax efficiency. It was his phrase, not mine. It wasn't even subtle. He wrote it like he was proud. Camille stared at it, then looked at me. "This is willful," she said quietly. "This is intentional. This is evidence of tax evasion planning." My hands shook, because now, it wasn't just my story. It was a documented statement from him, in writing, about hiding income. Victor forwarded that email to the IRS examiner as supplemental evidence. Then he said, "This helps," he said, "a lot. It also helped in family court." Camille filed a motion to sanction Adam for fraud and non-disclosure. At the hearing, the judge read the email and his face tightened. "Mr. Cross," he said, "this suggests deliberate concealment." Adam's attorney tried to argue context, misinterpretation, business slang. The judge wasn't impressed. He ordered Adam to pay additional attorney's fees and warned him that continued deception could lead to referral for criminal investigation. Referral. That word made Adam's calm smile crack. And once it cracked, he stopped being calm. He started being desperate. He tried to sell the condo. Camille caught it, because the listing popped up, and because the deed records showed a pending transfer. Camille filed an emergency motion to prevent sale pending resolution of fraud claims. The judge granted it. Adam's asset, his escape plan, was now locked. He couldn't cash out quietly. He couldn't disappear cleanly. And now, the IRS was watching. 2 months later, Victor called me with a voice that sounded lighter than I'd ever heard it. "Lauren," he said, "we got a determination." My stomach tightened. "What kind?" He paused, then said, "Innocent spouse relief granted." "In full." For a second, I couldn't breathe. "Full?" I whispered. "Yes," he said. "They're relieving you of the joint liability for the tax year. They'll remove the balance from your account. They will release collection action against you. We will request lien withdrawal as well." I covered my mouth with my hand and felt tears spilt, not loud, not dramatic, just relief pouring out of my body like water finally finding a drain. Full relief meant the IRS would chase Adam, not me. It meant I could breathe without scanning my mailbox like it was a threat. It meant my paycheck belonged to my child's life, not my ex's lies. Victor warned me, "It's not instant," he said. "The lien withdrawal process can take time, but the determination is the heart of it." The heart? I printed the determination letter and held it like it was a passport back into normal life. Then, the final power reversal began, because relief didn't just protect me, it isolated Adam. The IRS shifted its collection efforts toward him. They placed liens under his name. They levied accounts tied to his entities. And because Camille had already boxed him in through family court, he couldn't hide as easily. The condo sale was blocked. The hidden transfers were documented. The court had already flagged him for fraud. And now, the government had a clear target. Adam called me again when he realized he couldn't use my name as a shield. His voice was sharp. "What did you do?" he demanded. I kept my voice calm. "I told the truth," I said. "You told them lies," he hissed. You made me look like a criminal. I laughed once, soft and tired. You look like a criminal, I said. I just stopped covering the mirror. He went quiet for a beat, and then his voice dropped into something colder. You think you're safe now? He said. You think they won't come for you again? I looked at my son's drawing on the fridge, a stick figure family with a big sun and my name written in messy letters. I said, I'm safe because I'm honest, I replied. That's something you never understood. He cursed under his breath and hung up. Weeks later, I received another letter from the IRS. This one felt different. It confirmed lien withdrawal processing. It gave instructions. It treated me like a taxpayer again, not a target. My credit score began to recover as the lien record updated, slowly but steadily. And then something else happened, the kind of thing Adam never anticipated. The IRS Criminal Investigation Unit contacted Victor with questions about the identity theft aspect, the amended return, the payment plan filings. I didn't get a dramatic raid on a TV show, but I got something better. I got the system turning its attention toward the person who deserved it. Camille also pursued family court remedies. She argued that Adam's fraud had harmed me financially and emotionally, and that he should reimburse attorney's fees and additional costs I incurred because of his tax deception. The judge agreed. He ordered Adam to reimburse a portion of my legal costs and increase child support based on imputed income, evidence from his own transcript and bank deposits. Imputed income. That's a phrase that means, we don't believe you. And for a man like Adam, being disbelieved was worse than being yelled at. The day that order was issued, Adam stood in the hallway outside the courtroom, jaw tight, eyes burning. He waited until Camille stepped away to speak to the clerk. Then he leaned toward me and whispered, You've ruined me. I looked at him, really looked, and I saw what I hadn't seen clearly in years. Not strength, not confidence, fear, dressed up as control. I lowered my voice and said, You ruined you, I replied. You just thought I'd pay the bill. His eyes flashed. For a second, he looked like he wanted to say something cruel, something sharp, something that would make me shrink like I used to. But I didn't shrink, because the power reversal wasn't just legal. It was internal. I had become the person who kept records, the person who didn't accept handled as an answer, the person who understood that calm can be a mask, and paperwork can be a weapon, and truth can be filed. Adam swallowed, then turned away like the hallway itself rejected him. I went home and made dinner, not because everything was perfect, because I was allowed to live again. One evening, months later, my son asked me, Mom, why do you keep the mail in that folder? He meant my thick folder, the one I kept on the top shelf now, labeled IRS. I knelt beside him and said, Because sometimes, I said gently, people try to make you responsible for things you didn't do, and proof keeps you safe. He nodded like he understood in the way children do. Not fully, but enough. I tucked him in and sat on the couch afterward in the quiet. And I thought about how this story began. A plain envelope, a Levy notice, a number that made my hands shake. I thought about Adam's calm smile, his, I'll handle it, his silence when I needed answers. And I realized something that still makes my stomach tighten even now. He didn't leave me with his tax debt by accident. He left me with it because he thought I would carry it, because I was the responsible one, because I would panic and pay and keep everything quiet, to protect our son, to protect his reputation, to protect the illusion. He counted on my fear, But fear is not a life plan. Truth is, the final letter I received was from Victor. He sent a copy of the IRS determination and lien withdrawal confirmation with a note in the margin. You're free. Free. I held the paper in my hands and breathed like my lungs had been waiting for permission. Adam's tax debt didn't disappear. It simply went where it belonged. And the day I stopped trying to protect the man who endangered me was the day the system finally protected me instead. Because here's what Adam never understood. The IRS can take your money. Yes. The courts can drag your name through records. Yes. But if you document the truth, if you file it, if you refuse to be silenced by shame, the truth becomes stronger than the lie. And the lie, no matter how calm it sounds, eventually gets tired. Eventually it slips. Eventually it leaves evidence. That's what saved me. Not a miracle, not revenge, paperwork, deadlines, and the quiet decision to stop carrying a debt that was never mine.